political issues need to go through? What is the procedure in your perspective? And how would we go about that?
Troy, you want to answer this one?
Mr. Toddy, I appreciate that question. The fire district is, it will be county run, which means that once it goes to that, the county has a say so over the fire department. To me, that's a con, okay? Because what's gonna happen is the tax dollars that you pay will actually come from Washington Township, and that part we don't have a say so in. The pros of it is that it will put people at the fire station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just like the temporary station is now, okay? The process that has to go through, Salt, Polk, Benton Township, they would have to join or be in the district, and then we, as a township, would join with the district then. If it comes the other way, it would have to be Richland, Bean Blossom, that would have to join, and then we can join that way. So we have to be a contiguous township to join in the district.
Do you see the county commissioners having the political backbone to take on that project, a county-wide fire district?
I've talked to a few chiefs before, and the way it is now, Van Buren is joining this coming year. They're already working on their paperwork, as well as Salt and Polk. I've spoke with the fire chief over at Benton, and it's their desire to join the district as well. As all this goes through, the county commissioners are the ones that actually have the final say so. So far, with Indian Creek joining with the district a year and a half ago, this has already been something that's already been in the works, in the planning stages to have a countywide fire department.
Is there any concessions on what the commissioners are feeling that they would lean toward? Or are they, in other words, are they biased to not join the district, or?
From the county commissioners that I've talked to, they have been for the fire district because it puts everything under one umbrella and it lets the departments work together as one, which means same type of equipment, same type of training, and then you get mutual aid or automatic aid from the departments that are around you without that wait time when you have to have so many firefighters to show up on a scene to fight a fire.
Do you feel that a 5-year, it's a realistic 5-year goal for us to get in there, or 1 or 2 years, or any expectations?
That's hard to actually answer, and I don't have a good answer for that. The goal, I hope, would be 3 years, and that's what it would take for Benton to join.
Okay, thank you.
Has there been a cost analysis done of the pros and cons of joining the fire district or not joining the fire district, and what that would cost?
We're currently paying,
I sat in on the Benton Township meeting last year at some point. They had a consultant look into their options, if you will. And they done a cost analysis on what the fire district would run them. And I believe it was at current rate, they're paying roughly around 12 cents on the 100 assessed value for their volunteer stations that are currently under. To go to a fire district, it was in the 14-15 cent range. So they were looking at a 2 or 3 cent on the 100 increase. To kind of put that in perspective with Washington Township, keep in mind, when I say they, Bloomington Township, Washington Township they have been levied to the max, and they can take us all the way to 82 cents on the 100. So if you think 2017 was bad, once the election year is over and they've got their people where they want them, they take you to 82 cents on the 100. It's going to be interesting. Whenever, currently, they reduced their, rate down this year to 32 cents. So your tax bills you got this year, or this past, cycle was 32 cents on the 100. But they've levied for 82 cents on the 100. Keep that in mind come November 6th.
I guess this is a more global issue, but it seems like the reason that Washington Township is in the spot they are is they're limited by the county government about how many people could possibly live here. So we're always gonna, the acreage rules, all that business, there can't be a whole lot more than 500 families in this township. It just is not gonna happen. As far as I can tell, and as long as that happens, our rate is gonna be tremendously high. I don't know, you understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I do.
It's more and more, it used to be a 5-acre rule, and now it's a 10-acre rule, and maybe it'll be a 20 or a 40 or a 50.
I know there's roughly 800 and some change residents in Washington Township just from doing the mailer.
Well, I just.
But you're exactly right. And one of the things that we're also looking at is if you look at Washington Township, for the majority, the folks have been here a long time, okay? Which, that means we have an elderly community that's on fixed income. So they can't decide to go work an extra shift, work an extra Saturday, put in a few extra hours to pay these property taxes. Their pay doesn't change. So when their bills go up and their pay doesn't change, they gotta make a hard decision. And quite frankly, folks, unfortunately, we've lost some folks out of Washington Township over the past year due to that right there. They can't afford their property taxes and they've had to move.
But it seems to me to be a county commissioner issue about these land use rules. If we're depending on them to do something for us, I don't know if that's, I think that they're more Portland style than they are Indiana style. They'd like to have everybody in a 100-acre block. They'd have to have, that's what they like, I believe.
Well, and you're right, I don't have the answer. I don't think any of us have the answer to that, unfortunately. I do know that if elected, one of the things we want to do first and foremost is sit down with the commissioner and get some things lined out and get, pick some brains and start thinking, what is our futuristic plan? Because if we go to a countywide fire and EMS service, we've got a vested interest in that. We need to sit down and talk.
Well, keep in mind that they're elected too. The commissioners are, we elect those commissioners.
Well, I understand that, but, I've been here since 1980, 1979, and it used to be a given that the commissioners were gonna be Republican conservatives.
Right.
They're not that way. It's just not that way, so, they have all sorts of ideas about how we ought to have our land. It used to be just, the septic system has to be this or that or the other. Now it's just blocks of land. I feel completely alienated. And I'm just waiting for the township system of government to go away. And now we're all in the Bloomington County, Monroe County, People's Republic. That's not too far off, I don't believe.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, I'm negative now.
You bring up some good points.
I would suggest you look also at the dispatch system. There was quite a tax increase for public safety, and they had a number of things they were going to do with it. And I guess ineptitude or whatever on the part of the commissioners or whoever arranged the county dispatch system really screwed things up for quite some time. And getting it fixed cost a lot of money. So, police cars and other things disappeared into this giant void of them knowing better than us what to do. And I can't get anybody to talk to me about it. Like you say, how many runs do people have? It's not for me to know.
Well, and actually, you bring up something I want to hit on here real quick, because this was something that I learned through this past 18 months of digging in and getting to know township government and how fire departments work way more than I ever thought I would. But a run, you know, whenever you sit and hear the fire chief say, hey, we had 16 runs in Washington Township last month. Well, that means they went and kids done touch a truck. They went up here to Marlin School and hosed the kids down on the last day. I mean, any time that they're toned out for any reason, that doesn't mean that they physically left. They could just get toned out, grab the door handle of the truck, get disregarded. That's a run. So, you know, whenever you first start hearing all these numbers, and that's what we've got to get through and break down and see what our true needs are. You know, if somebody tells me you had 50 runs in your township last month, wow, that's quite a few. Well, but whenever 10 of them were actual left the station and done something, that's a whole different number. So, I mean, there's lots of information there that kind of gets glossed over.
Kenny, you're wrong on that, as far as, you know, as far as a truck leaving the fire station for touch a truck or leaving the station for a run, that's a totally different thing, that doesn't count as a run. So that's misinformation.
I'm just stating what Chief Baumgartner told me, because that was an
Joe will
education
tell you
process for
different on
me.
that too.
He and I had a long, lengthy discussion about
Well,
that.
not on that, you're wrong.
Well, we'll agree to disagree, thank you.
There was an automobile accident on my road just down from my house last week. And I was interested to see how long it would take for the fire department to get there. But what was interesting is the fire truck got there. First of all, we had some sort of big pickup truck. I'm not sure what that was, but it was just some guy and he couldn't get his radio to work. And then we had ambulance, and we had 5 Bloomington Township Fire Department vehicles for that. Now, as far as I can tell, they're mostly just standing around my daughter's freshly seeded grass. They all had their hands in their pockets. The boy was in the car, wasn't hurt seriously, so there wasn't any reason he had to go to the hospital that he didn't go in the ambulance. So, those are 5 trucks that went for a one-car accident. Seems like a little overkill.
Troy might be able to, I'm not a specialist in that, but I would agree with your opinion there too, that it must have been a slow day at the station. We'll keep it at that.
I just have a comment. We live on Sample Road, so we see that the fire trucks from wherever that place is, they just drive up and down the road to go to the station up here, I guess. I mean, for whatever reason, they're just wasting gas going up and down the road. We see them all the time. Yeah. They're not on the run, they're just running up and down the road.
Yeah, Kenny, I wanted to expand on a conversation you and Troy and I had a couple meetings ago, and I'd be interested in knowing if you've had any further discussion, and that was some land up on Crossrover Road you had talked about possibly purchasing. And have you explored that any more and looked at putting a building on there, and what size building? Have you gotten into any of that analysis yet of construction and all that?
The quick and short answer is no. The land is still for sale, to the best of my knowledge. 25 acres north of the new water tower that we just put up for $135,000. The land that has been donated by Cook, to kind of give you a little bit of relation here, the land donated by Cook is just over 2 acres, and they're valuing it at 171. 171.
I was told 50,000 for the valuation of that.
No,
From Jim Worth.
it was north of that.
Okay.
But, I mean, at this point, to answer your question further, I don't know that's my place to explore that. I mean, if elected, that's definitely something, I mean, if it's still available, that's the kind of stuff that scares me, that will it still be available once we need to explore that, if the time, if that time comes. The other thing that we need to look at, that found through my water manager, Mark Schmitter, at the water office, is there's a lot of land that I-69 bought up whenever they came through. They just bought huge swaths of land because they didn't know exactly at the time where everything was gonna go and all the utilities and things of that nature. Well, now that they've got their road pretty much pushed through, they're gonna start selling off that excess land. And quite frankly, it's gonna be pretty cheap land, because who's gonna wanna live right on basically the highway? Fire station would be a great position to be right next to the highway. So I don't have all the answers, but there's another possibility we need to explore. May or may not turn up anything, I don't know, but it's something that I'd be willing to look into. Yes, sir.
I have one more question, and what could we do on election day to help get people out to vote? What do you need like that? Anything?
One of the numbers I heard today, and I don't know if it was just grabbing out of the air or if it was some true number, but I heard that roughly 50% of people now early vote, which I think Ayers went today and done that, and he can attest that there was quite the line. I would tell you, tell your neighbors, tell your friends, help spread the word. We're not anti-fire station. We're not anti-firefighters. We're not what we are is we want to be fiscal responsible with you guys' money. And I would hope that you would think that that's a great idea. And let me also clear up, when I keep saying fire station, firefighter, I lump those with EMS, because we do have a huge need for EMS. Matter of fact, as I've talked to a lot of folks in the township, they're more interested in EMS than they are fire, because of the elderly and things of that nature. We've got a lot of farmers, we got a lot of equipment and things of that nature. We did get a sample ballot, and we'll leave it up here on the table. If you go in and vote straight ticket, that doesn't, there's still the backside that, that's where your trustee and the board and everything else is. So, make sure you take a look at it if you'd like, if you've not voted, and make yourself familiar with it.
If you vote straight ticket, you still have to fill that out.
Exactly. Yeah, you can vote